Steven, you have an idea for a movie.
Right, it's called Juggalo to Juggalo. It's starring Tim Allen, and it's kind of a sequel to Jungle, except this time his divorced wife moves to Ohio instead of to Venezuela, and Tim Allen has to go collect his son there, who's turned into a juggalo because he's been basically raised in a porta potty.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to have Jonathan Taylor Thomas made young to look young.
He's going to be. They're not going to get a young actor. They're just going to get a de-aged Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Well, wait, they don't need to pay for some new hot young actor like Timothée Chalamet or whatever. You know, you can get Jonathan Taylor Thomas and make him look young, like they did in The Irishman.
Exactly. I mean, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, he hasn't worked in a long time. He's probably, starving for roles, right?
Yeah. He's starving. He's literally starving on the streets now.
Oh, like just like Bobby Driscoll. You ever know about Bobby Driscoll?
No.
Bobby Driscoll was the voice of Disney's Peter Pan, and eventually got way into heroin and died alone and was buried in a pauper's grave.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
And also, we have Marino!
Yay.
Hey. How are you?
Hello. I'm excited to be back. Really excited. I just think that Juggalo to Juggalo sounds like a fun romp for the whole family, so we're already off to a good start.
Yeah, that's why we had you on today, was because about my good movie idea.
Yeah. We specifically your Juggalo expertise. You drink that Faygo. You drink that Go.
I do, yeah. No, I'm all about the discount. Although sometimes, on a Friday night, I like to pop my favorite Rush mixtape and dip into some Shasta.
Play a
Space Invaders.
Play a Space Invaders game. You're back in the 80s again. You have no date. Mm-hmm. You're just scrolling along, getting your sugar high. And that's what the Juggalos are doing as well. They're getting high on sugar. There's no drugs, famously, at Juggalo gatherings. They're straight edge. Are there straight edge Juggalos?
Oh yes, there are. I definitely know there are some straight edge Juggalos. I mean, it's too cool of a thing to do concurrently. I mean, your power level is pretty high when you're straight edge. You get to do like the X with your hands. And it really goes well with the makeup.
You get to do straight edge Juggalo makeup where you put an X's over your eyes, right? That would be. I think. Do you have any? Because there is a desire to clown. I feel like if I observe many cultures, sort of, if you look at Crumping or Insane Clown Posse or the Joker, even as a cultural figure, one that is especially relevant to people that feel downtrodden and like they just want to go beast mode one day, or get Joker-fied one day, and there is something about, or even in its darkest recesses, John Wayne Gacy. What is it about clowning? Marino, you have a point?
I was going to go back even further to the literary figure of the Fool in King Lear specifically.
Yeah.
King Lear is a very serious figure who is very invested in serious life, and then when that's all undone by a familial betrayal, like there's the Fool there just like, told you so, life is random and cruel. Yeah. It is just sort of like something that the downtrodden turn to. Another thing, the other day, like just yesterday, I saw a fellow, it seemed like he was possibly perhaps unhoused, and he was with a friend, and he had a pair of Joker pants on in 2021, just half denim, half ha pattern, and damn, live your truth, bro.
Yeah, he's identifying with the joke. It makes sense. Life is unbearably cruel to you, so why not embrace that cruelty and start clowning? And I think it can sometimes be more positive than that. I think that's what eventually Jonathan Taylor, that's what Tim Allen will learn in Juggalo to Juggalo, that clowning is actually his own corporate life is all amiss, and from JTT's wise clowning, he can I was just get ahead
struck with an amazing idea for Juggalo to Juggalo. What if also the Tim Allen's character is unable to tell a lie?
You're combining the 90s bad father movies?
And then maybe the whole thing is a TV show.
Yeah. Why is Tim Allen's in a lot of movies where he's a bad father and he becomes a better father through magic?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Santa. Is it just Claus or is it
the Santa Claus? But it's the clause spelt as in like a legal contract because he gets bound into a legal contract by murdering the previous Santa Claus.
That is I have no objective take on that movie because I saw it so many times as a child, probably 10 times, and eventually I think it was just on repeat on the Disney Channel. So. Did they have Disney Channel up there in Canada?
But it's called the Family Channel up here. It's called something weird and slightly different. The Family Channel. All I remember from Santa Claus 1 is that early childhood crush was David Krumholtz playing the surly elf.
Was he the New York elf? Like the New York accent
Yeah, he's
elf?
like the New York elf. He's like, fuck you, Santa. You're in a contract now. You fucking murked the previous Santa. Now you got to take the role.
So you had a thing for that elf. That's hilarious.
Well, if I'm talking about like childhood crushes, we're talking like Rufio, David Krumholtz. That's all I can think of right now. Is those are the two that
my childhood crush was the princess from Neverending Story. It like made I think it started puberty for me.
It really?
I think it kicked off at age 8. My mind exploded. I was like,
whoa, because you were a kid, and you could, because she is called the childlike empress. So whoa, don't want to go there.
Oh well, yeah, we were going there because we're going to talk about. Let's get this out of the way first before we get into our topic of the day.
Let us ask our guest, Marino. Before this, had you ever heard of Noah Berlatsky?
No, I had not. I was going to say actually, one of my childhood crushes was Mila Kunis, who was only 14 when she started on that 70s show. But of course, I was like 12.
You were the
so
appropriate
it was appropriate.
age. It was fine. It was fine for you.
But
I was also young when we were all young when we were having our childhood crushes. But
yes, but one Mr. Noah Berlatsky sees. Okay, I'm exaggerating it too much. The thing is, okay, so there's this guy on the internet called Noah Berlatsky, and he's known for doing. Yeah. Is he Atlantic? Does he write for the Atlantic?
Yeah,
oh wow,
he sure does.
Very funny.
No.
And they're a great journal. They employ many great people, and they certainly have great middlebrow views. And that's what he is. He's very like this middlebrow, woke scold think piece generator, who for a while actually. Was generating some pretty good articles on trans issues because his daughter is trans and he has like a vested emotional interest, and it comes through in his articles, which and he was doing well for a bit there, but it all seems to have come crashing down because people have become aware of his association with an organization called Prostasia. And what Prostasia is a pedophile advocacy organization, which is the most truthful way to put it. They are into they don't want to demonize pedophiles anymore because they say it leads to further child abuse and self-harm with these people who might otherwise be productive members of society if we didn't demonize it so much. Which is a little like that old Louis C.K. joke is like, who's also, problematic, but he had that joke where it's like, if we didn't demonize pedophiles so much, there'd be less dead kids, because, in a way. And so they've taken that to the nth degree, where they have people doing Mindhunter with pedophiles. They're like, we're going to consult the pedophiles, and we'll learn more about child abuse this way. But it also seems very obvious that it is not just, trying to rehabilitate non-offenders. It's more about
normalizing pedophilia.
Exactly. Exactly. It's more about,
I don't know about that.
Yeah. It is much more in the vein of a NAMBLA, or as we've discussed on the show before, the German doctor Helmut Kentler, who convinced the German government to set up orphans with child abusers. theorizing that they would be able to love them the most. Look up Helmut Kindler. Weird stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Weird stuff.
I'm sadly aware of him.
You are aware of Kindler because you listen to our podcast.
I think I saw like a Washington Post article about it recently.
Ugh, it's rough. Yeah,
I was astounded though.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, how just this not only because you think of it as on the edges of society, but really it just sort of crops up. And what's funny about Prostasia is they have this very common, this very generic NGO design scheme on their website. And if you didn't read any of the text, it would just look like a normal website. Also, as Truanon has pointed out, one of the people that they're associated with is this guy that makes child real dolls for sexual purposes. And the person looks like Riff Raff from Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it's just all very unfortunate. And apparently Noah berMAPsky runs fucking PR for these people, because I don't know if he is a map himself. I don't know if he would cop to that. A map being a minor attracted person, which is the new politically correct term for pedophile.
Which we don't have to use there. We don't have to humanize.
We're not gonna. That's not. It's fine. There was a whole South Park early South Park episode. Some episodes don't age well. The one where Cartman joins Nambla, they say, "Dude, you fuck children." Fuck you.
I saw someone make a joke on Twitter the other day that Noah berMAPsky's favorite song was "Maps" by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Yes.
And I was very like, oh God, is there some weird pedophile connection? Because I like maps. No. But that clarifies things.
Now that makes sense.
I can rest easy now.
Yeah, maps. They don't love you like I love you.
Oh boy.
Wait, no, it's wait. They don't love you like I love you. Karen O. What's she doing now? Well, I guess Karen O, lead singer of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, married to Spike Jonze at one point. Nick Zinner, this thin guy. I kind of like that, but they were okay.
I was during my blackout decade.
Yeah. Yeah Yeah Yeahs is a good band to black out to.
Well, Noah berMAPsky has gone private on Twitter. He couldn't take the heat. Everyone was going after him. And it's interesting because you had a little interaction with him on your erstwhile former Twitter account where you kind of called him out on that.
Yeah, well, I didn't even call him out. Okay, so what had happened was that I had posted a comic about Liz Bruenig and how her most anodyne opinions seem to get the most hatred towards her. Like Liz Bruenig will post bad takes occasionally, but sometimes she'll just post I love my family and here's why cooking is good, and then someone will go nuts on him. In this case, it was Jude Doyle, who then retweeted my comic and was like, attack this person.
Oh no!
And then I was talking to some of the Jude Doyle acolytes who had said Liz Bruenig is a bad person, because one time she implied that Noah berMAPsky was a pedophile, because Noah berMAPsky was on this trip where he says that parents are authoritarian tyrants, and he's really big into child autonomy, apparently derived from the philosophies of Shulamith Firestone, who I don't know enough about, but she argued for radical child autonomy.
Well, she had schizophrenia, so that's...
Well, so did a lot of philosophers, but they made some good points.
Like which major ones?
Wasn't Nietzsche a bit of a...
Nietzsche? I don't know. I think he had syphilis that made him demented. Okay,
that's the same thing. It's the same thing. But yeah, so he advocates for this child independence that a lot of people, and then Liz Bruenig made a joke I'm not going to let you within 2 feet of my kid's elementary school, or within 15 feet, with the implication, he's a sex offender. And then people on berMAPsky's side got mad and said, you're slandering him, saying he's a pedophile. And now Bruenig appears to be vindicated because he's part of this overtly pedophile organization. But I was talking with a person one of berMAPsky's defenders, and I had said that berMAPsky derived some of his stuff from Foucault, which and Foucault obviously campaigned to get rid of underage sex laws in France, which is,
Oh, boy.
and then berMAPsky himself, who apparently name searches,
he
just
name
dropped
searched.
in. Yeah, he dropped
by.
in and
he
said,
was like, no, it's actually Shulamith Firestone.
and then a guy who is like another MUFO of mine pointed out, hey, berMAPsky actually does work for this Prostasia organization. And this was months ago before any of this dropped. And because I was actually, sort of defending berMAPsky as like, look, berMAPsky is problematic, but, he tries to do his best. He seems okay. And then someone posts this Prostasia link, and I'm like, ew. And then
You had the inside scoop.
I had the inside scoop. Well, because people knew about this association before. There's a TrueAnon episode called Wes Mappin' about it, which is funny if you want to know more. But then I said berMAPsky is like, how do you justify your association with the Prostasia organization? And then the head of the Prostasia organization, who apparently name searches Prostasia, who's now going through it.
Yeah, he probably follows Noah berMAPsky.
Yeah, he probably follows him. But anyway, he got into it, and then in order to just get them off my back, I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
I don't want
to be around anymore.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was like, repent now or be damned.
Yeah, and so I've just had this. I have this weird personal Twitter run-in with Noah berMAPsky. And so months later, now that a mass of people are finding out his weird association, and you know what might have started it is because I don't know what his take on Candyman was, but he just had one of his classic, bad, overly performatively white guy woke takes on Candyman.
It was like, why is Candyman haunting a black neighborhood? He should be haunting a white neighborhood type.
Yeah.
It's basically tantamount to saying, I don't see color, but in film criticism form.
Yeah, so it was the really god-awful take, which is what people... And then bigots... one person commented, hey, he's in this organization, right? And then a big account retweeted it, and now everybody knows about it because you just had to be annoying about a movie. So that's just... It's just a funny tale of the internet. Noah berMAPsky, not Godspeed. I don't wish you Godspeed. Stop immediately and reevaluate your life. Yeah, move to Thailand like you always wanted to. Move to Southeastern Asia. No, that's bad. A lot of child trafficking goes around there, and it's sad. But speaking of child trafficking, the We Foundation, which associates with Justin Trudeau, which associates with the new snap election in Canada.
Oh, my God.
Which is why that is the real reason we have Marino on, because Marino is more in tune with the Canadian political scene than the average bear.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, definitely, yeah.
I do appreciate that. I would say I have a weird relationship with politics where I just have good critical thinking skills and listen to smart people on Twitter, but I don't read a lot. So sometimes it can be difficult for me to back up my points or something. But the snap election.
You're describing 90% of the people that have podcasts.
The Noah berMAPsky thing was nice to have on Twitter because it was like, well, the Prostasia shit and all that is abhorrent. It was at least very funny to see him get royally dunked on. The rest of Twitter with this snap election has been just taxing. And, no one wanted this election. It was a callous power grab gamble because the polls looked good for Justin Trudeau. He's kind of basically just gunning for a majority. And now it's looking like it's going to either be a liberal minority or conservative minority, either way. And liberals, every single election cycle, what grinds my gears the most is these unimaginative centrist liberal types who insist that strategic voting is the only way, and it's just exhausting Justin Trudeau has been in power for 6 years, and he has not kept his first past the post promise. He has not voted for pharmacare when the NDP proposed it. He rejected the wealth tax, voting very similar to Conservatives in a lot of regards. But these like shitlibs, for lack of a better term, try to frame it as like you got to keep Conservatives out at all costs. I'll further and just like here's one tweet that was especially making the rounds, and it goes into the we thing, and this was the dumbest thing I've ever read. Student debt is so high because Jagmeet Singh joined this Conservative Party in killing we charity, killing tens of thousands of student summer jobs, and killing African charitable work building schools and wells. Fuck Singh and the horse he rode in on. I'm sorry? Student debt would be solved by like underpaid jobs with some white savior cult? Yeah. Like I'm sorry. It's just like, and crap like that. And it's just like, I don't know. The whole thing has already been incredibly taxing. And I live in Carolyn Bennett's riding. Carolyn Bennett is like a microcosm of the problems with the Liberal Party.
Who is Carolyn Bennett for our American listeners?
Who, Carolyn Bennett? Let me look her up.
Look up this lady of the evening.
So while you're looking that up,
she's not a sex worker. She just likes the night air.
That's
I may have said something I didn't mean to.
Can just take a little word timeout for.
Yeah. No more words for a while.
I see a poll that came out for the federal. What is it? You got some kind of federal model, and it's looking like it's gonna be like a real. It's looking like, is the LPC the Liberals?
They're the Liberals. Mm-hmm. They're
looks like they're gonna do bad.
They're doing real bad.
Yeah, they're starting to dip big time in the polls.
Looks like they're going to lose 17 seats.
Yep.
What?
Carolyn Bennett is a Liberal MP. She's the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Yeah.
Which has been like a notoriously fumbled file by the Liberal Party of Canada. They rejected an inquiry that found basically that Canada had committed genocide against Indigenous people. They are currently taking Indigenous kids to court, all while like talking a big name of like platitudes. They did commit some money to like discovering like more graves in residential schools, but it's, I don't know. And then she like recently made some disparaging comments against Jody Wilson-Raybould, who is Indigenous, who like left the Liberal Party because of some drama with the leadership. I forget it all. Sorry.
But no, we weren't asking a question. But yeah, the whole Carolyn Bennett versus Jody Wilson-Raybould thing was a real fucking. Well, you know, Trudeau has been pictured in blackface a lot.
Yeah.
So the Liberal Party has sort of had to work its way out of this. They seem even more committed to racism in that doofy liberal way than even the Conservative Party now, or they have more overt associations with racism than the Conservatives now, which is very funny. And so Carolyn Bennett, essentially, Jody Wilson-Raybould, she criticized the Liberals for their poor record on Indigenous rights, and she got shit canned by internal party mechanisms for it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a real shame. And it sort of puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially after the mass discovery of all these graves.
Exactly. It just seems like hypocritical, and it just seems like the Liberals are closer to Conservatives by all accounts than the New Democratic Party. I'm voting NDP in this election, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm even an NDP partisan. As far as I'm concerned, they don't go far enough. I just think
they never do.
That the modern perception of what these parties are is just so skewed, and then you have it's problematized by these very, very like questionable liberal partisans who are just like, I just think, working against the left. Like the liberals have not kept their promises. And going back to like my riding, if I just stuck to this whole idea that we should vote strategically, my riding has flipped Conservative to Liberal, like its entire time. But provincially, we elected an NDP, a member of provincial parliament named Jill Andrew. So there's precedent already that it can't be polled, really, that we elected an NDP member. So, like, don't like these strategic voting in treaties are putting a lot of stock in polling numbers, and this like easily disprovable idea that the liberals are like a realistic progressive option still. And it's at this point I'm just like kind of getting just like mad at them online, and like the past couple of elections I've had people in my life be just scolding and condescending and smug about this strategic voting thing.
Your liberal friend, your liberal professional friends. Who is the type of person that is scolding to you? Can you
my
describe
ex-girlfriend who thought fucking Kamala Had was worthwhile.
Fucking bitch. Fucking
I'm not,
no, she's fine.
I'm sure she had like a lot of redeeming qualities, but
well, she's our guest on the show next week. So
I had a recent friend group, like tangential friends. Mm-hmm. Let me also say I can tolerate like my gamer friends who are apolitical and like vote liberal and like they're not informed. That's fine. But when you have convictions about the Liberal Party at this point, there are problems. And I had like a tangential friend sort of situation, and I got sort of like into this Facebook group chat. He always had these parties where he would like invite like cross the streams and invite all these different friend groups. So I just randomly ended up in this group chat, and he started posting these memes that I like back searched, and they were coming from the neoliberal subreddit. There was a dude in there who was tone policing about ACAB. He said like, "Oh, I'm a social democrat, but like, yeah, let's justify any U.S. imperialism by it's better that the U.S. does it than the commies. We wouldn't want commies coming in." And it's just like that kind of crap, just this implicit idea that West is best, and classical liberalism will save us. And he wants just use the word tanky in a derogatory term, and it was like, I expected better from you, and I'm like, wow, you're fucking stupid. And then the last thing he messaged me after like things were fraught, I blocked his stupid ACAB tone policing friend. The ACAB tone policing friend also did like innocent but proven guilty with Jeffrey Epstein after
what?
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so is that from the neoliberal subreddit?
No, that was just from, I guess, his friend group that thinks like this.
His friend group thinks that Jeffrey Epstein, like...
This one dude was like, Jeffrey Epstein, let's not let the woke mob thing, but like at that point, he had already... At that point, he had already been fucking convicted, in Florida recently. Like, this was when he was just getting big, and it's like... Yeah. You just don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Anyways,
Kanye would have invited Jeffrey Epstein to the Donda listening party.
So yeah, I don't know. The last thing that this neoliberal friend of mine sent me was like the day that Afghanistan was taken over, and he was like, man, this is terrible, just like the fall of Saigon. And like, I don't even know like if he really meant like the Taliban is the same as the Viet Cong. I'm sure he thinks so. But at that point, I was just like, all right, boop, check out, cut off all contact, and like, no regrets. He tried messaging me on fucking LinkedIn 3 days later, and I blocked him there too. Like, when there's just a point where that, like, I don't know. I've never done this to like someone with just like normie liberal values or whatever, but like, it was like back when I cut off contact with my Tory friend, when you start coming in and you're like, Joe Biden's a socialist, BLM is the bane of existence because it's ruining basketball for me. There's no, I just want to become a non-person to you.
Yes. I think because I can have people who I vehemently disagree with, but usually there's something else that's keeping the friendship there, some common interest or like
a podcast.
And if you don't have that, well, what's also weird about neoliberalism and why like the memes on our neoliberal always seem like self-parody is because it's very internally inconsistent. The message of the left is we can help everybody, and the message of the right is only care about yourself, and the message of neoliberalism is only care about yourself and help everybody. Which is so
they seem, you know what? They seem concerned with being right all the time, like being correct or doing the most pragmatic, realistic, utilitarian option. I just think it's an unrealistic way to be, and I just think it's like these people just don't want to have an ideology, and they're like placated by their own like comfort in society and how it works for them unwittingly. And I just think it's all very, very dumb. I also would raise the usual arguments. Oh, Justin Trudeau's selling fucking arms to Yemen, blah, 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 this, that, fueling a war in Saudi Arabia. And it's just like, it would always be like, oh, geopolitics is complicated. And it's just like, why don't our leaders have a fucking spine?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, well, I don't know. I speaking of that, I've been impressed with Joe Biden recently.
Surprisingly, I have too, and I was not. He's accidentally woke a lot.
He's sometimes. Did you see him fall asleep during the meeting with Naftali Bennett?
I did.
My president. He's my president.
Democracy. Afghanistan, democracy. Afghanistan, democracy.
Oh no, my computer broke. No, I'm okay. Joe Biden is like sleeping his way through the Afghanistan pullout, and there's going to be like Benghazi type hearings on this shit for the next like 16 years.
Yeah.
So it while he is doing a good thing, it's going to be annoying now.
Yeah.
It's going to be all that anyone talks about. It sucks that those 13 Marines were all like 20.
Ugh.
Like that I looked it up. They're all like 20 years old. It's like, wow.
I'm just sad that like there's no one in their life to be like, don't take the military.
Yeah. They were barely born when like the war had started. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I don't think video games are violent, but some video games will make you join the military. And so I blame Call of Duty for their deaths more than I blame Joe Biden.
Yeah. It's a sad state of affairs, and it's going to be super annoying like Benghazi was. So.
And it's also, people aren't wrong when they say by doing this, he is actually hurting his chances at re-election. He's doing, because the only people that seem unguardedly happy about this are the anti-imperialist left. You know, no one on the right is happy about this, you know, even though all the Trump people that were saying we should pull out of Afghanistan, you know, now they have to double back and say, no, actually, he's doing it wrong, as if Trump would have done this better.
Yeah, you have to try, like, who do you think the group of people are that are responsible for Biden winning? Like, it's, as far as I know, it's like sort of center-right suburbanites.
Yeah, and I think this move is want to turn off a lot of them.
Hopefully they're all just like in one too many White Claws deep at this point in the summer to realize anything is going on in the news. Yeah. But the friggin' news has had headlines. Like the New York Times loves this shit. They're like, there's been a block major headline like every day this week about Afghanistan from the New York Times.
Yeah.
So that's what the center-right suburbanites love to read.
But it's also, you know, speaking of the Brunigs again, Matt Brunig posted an interesting, well, not interesting, but just instructive of what's happening. Thus far, there have been 13 soldier deaths in Afghanistan, U.S. soldier deaths in Afghanistan, which is pretty low. Like, if you're going on a yearly basis, like, it's the height of U.S. soldier deaths were under Obama. And, you know, they've really gone down since then. So I don't know if you can particularly accuse Biden of... What specifically are they accusing him of fudging up?
I mean, they're just... That's the thing, that you can't... He's right when what he's saying, and the way he's saying it is annoying, but he's right that you can't really do this without some shit happening. They're going to try to blow you up when you're evacuating.
And also, it's not as if we aren't cooperating with the Taliban or have, you know, any ideas of how to quell this hatred. There is, to some degree, mutually beneficial handoffs of power because the U.S. acknowledged something that should have realized, 17 years ago, which was you can't do this. We tried to do it in Vietnam. It didn't work. Tried to do it in Korea. We're still paying for that decision. And, interventionist policy is all around just a huge drain, and it is never, ever worth it. Because people always want to, the people that you're invading just want autonomy, which, I don't know if the Taliban is popular, but they definitely have more of a vested interest in maintaining their stake on that land than any soldier does. So, yeah.
It seems like, I mean, Biden's just, it's not profitable anymore. Like, that's not, like, really a real, like, legitimate anti-imperialist impulse driving it. I think he's just up there, like, making the tough decision. It's just not bankrollable properly anymore. That's the sense that I get.
I wonder who's advising, because, Biden's not making this decision in a vacuum. Somebody's obviously advising him that... No, I don't think so.
The sleepy time chamomile tea bear.
There you go.
Who's blinking now?
Maybe it's just like Biden's old, so he is doing this unilaterally. It's like, Afghanistan, oh man, I don't want to have to think about that. Let's just stop.
That's over. What? No,
That's one thing. One less thing on the list there, Jack. I'm going to bedtime. I don't know. Maybe Biden will. It is going to be like Baby's Day Out, where I reference far too much on this show.
That's like the 6th time.
It's become a recurring bit, but or maybe Forrest Gump, where somebody just ends up drifting through something and accidentally succeeding.
I'm getting a bad feeling. I disagree. I think that the 2024 election is now looking kind of scary because we got coronavirus getting worse again.
Yeah.
So people are going to have another bad taste in their mouth. The inflation is going up, and every time it goes up another month, they're like, but it's probably not going to go up anymore. And then it does.
Yeah.
And then this, the foreign policy stuff that's happening. I think we'll have a bad 2022, and then unless he can do something good,
what he needs to do, like immediately, while they still have both the House and the Senate, which can't happen because Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema exist, but
oh my God,
pass some sort of UBI.
That's never gonna
it can't happen, but that would be the thing to keep them in power.
Do you think, I think UBI is kind of a Band-Aid solution for capitalism, but I would definitely benefit from it, especially considering the kind of work that I want to do and how I hate, like, conventional jobs. Do you think there will ever be a chance of that happening in Canada?
Well, I think broadly the experiment with CERB worked before it was shit-canned by the Conservatives. We did have the provincial Conservatives. Ontario had a very successful UBI pilot program.
We did. Shit, I would be all over that, and then I would try to make it as like an online guy.
I don't think being an online guy seems like it makes people unhappy, and then they do or say something that makes them ostracized, and then they get even more unhappy. So
it could be that. I mean, I just want to like resell Hot Wheels and shoot videos where I find the Hot Wheels and hunt for the Hot Wheels on YouTube. I could be that kind of online guy.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's the key to do it. If you're gonna be an online guy, find a niche of thing and only do that thing, and never do anything like the military rations guy who reviews military rations. I love those videos.
Or those guys that eat like the spoiled meat. Have you seen those guys?
LA Beast.
They eat like the rotten meat and then they get high from it. It's very cool.
They get high from the rotten meat.
Yes. I love random YouTube rabbit holes.
That's what they claim. Yeah.
Okay.
I watch this dude who does like urban stealth camping, but it's just like how to be homeless.
Okay.
But it's cool. It's just like no tent. Just like random forest in the parking lot.
All right, yeah. Urban stealth camping. What, do you sleep in a tree?
He's got like all sorts of different setups, hammocks, sometimes has a boondocking rig. Like he used to like live out of a truck and now he has like a successful gas fitting business or something too.
I like it when houseless people are also successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they're like I refurnish fire hydrants. That's my day job.
Yeah.
Because because got all the experience like undoing the fire hydrants to hit water. Yeah.
You become the ultimate fire hydrant plumber. They call this guy
Fire hydrant maintenance is always like a monopoly in whatever town you're in. It's interesting. If you look it up, there's always only one fire hydrant maintenance company.
Interesting.
Like a good old boy network that we need to dismantle.
I think we need to start a fire hydrant maintenance company.
The thing that interests me is the whole McDonald's ice cream machine racket and how like, I don't know, there was a YouTube video about the whole thing that basically uncovered what everyone knew. They have some deal with the repair company. They're made basically to break.
Yeah, because they're always broke. Had someone noticed, like, every time you go to McDonald's, they're like, ice cream machine's broken. It's on the fritz. Mm-hmm. And then they did, like, data analysis. Someone hacked somehow they got access to, like, a list of all the McDonald's and all the ice cream machines, and then figured out when all of them were broken or not, and then they made it into a nice website. So people are getting real good with that web development these days.
Nice. Good to know, because McDonald's does have the best like fast food soft serve ice cream, bar none. I'm of that
McDonald's
opinion.
knocks it out of the park in a lot of stuff. McDonald's coffee is famously good.
Yeah. Go
Steven,
to McDonald's.
We're not being paid by McDonald's. We just love.
We would be.
Yeah.
That certainly could be something we would be interested in.
Yeah.
House of Decline at gmail.com.
It's just going to be an hour of me eating a McDouble. That's all you're going to be hearing. Me eating a McDoubles for an hour.
They don't seem like more evil than any other corporation.
I'm sure they have their fingers
have you seen
in
the
pies,
founder?
you know. I'm sure there's something in McDonald's where it's like they have to kill a Palestinian kid every year in order to get, the McRib is tied to how many Palestinian kids are dying.
Oh God. That's why I shouldn't make this joke.
Were you gonna make a pork joke?
Yes, I was gonna make a pork joke.
Yeah, you're gonna make a pork joke.
I can't make that joke.
You can't make that joke because you're just Italian.
I can't rely on like my half Sicilian generations back might have had some Arab affiliation.
There you go.
No license.
you kind of have you ever been mistaken for an Arab person?
Oh, all the time. I get if I don't get Italian or Greek, I usually get Iranian or Armenian or something like that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of overlap. I'm not going to be one of those, we're a person of color.
You're going to be just like, what's his face in Do the Right Thing. You're going to be like John Turturro in Do the Right Thing.
My mom's Sicilian, and my dad loves to give her a hard time about her Arab heritage as a fun joke. My dad's
was your dad some kind of history nerd?
No, but he is a bit of a Mussolini apologist. But
Mussolini, he did make
good
the
pasta.
trains run on time.
Yeah, and the pasta he made was real good.
It's funny, but my dad he's from Rome, but he's also pretty tan, and his last name's Greco. So dude, your history, you were all over the place, traveling. Yeah. Your ancestors were traveling around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the DNA of Italians now is very, very not the same as the DNA of Romans 2,000 years ago. Mm-mm. There was huge invasion of Turkic people at some point.
We're just a huge island peninsula, sort of in the smack dab of the middle of the Mediterranean there, with European influence, Northern African influence. At
one point, some Vikings came down and conquered part of it and got their DNA in the mix, and the Byzantine Empire held major parts of Italy for a very long time. It's all kinds of different.
Who initially conquered Rome? It was the Visigoths or something.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All sorts of the original melting pot.
Fun fact, most Italian Americans' DNA is completely Irish.
Really?
It's just completely Irish. It's green DNA.
It's a House of Decline fact.
That's a House of Decline fact. The DNA recombinates to the beat of Jump Around by Everlast.
That's why there are weird areas.
Not Everlast, House of Pain.
That's why there are weird areas in the U.S. where they call red sauce gravy.
Exactly, precisely. Because they're Irish. They're just Irish guys. The Irishman is about how Italians are actually Irish. That's what Martin Scorsese's,
I had to make tomato sauce recently because the Instacart guy or lady, I put 5 tomatoes and I got 5 pounds of tomatoes.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not a bad problem to have.
It kind of was a bad problem to have. I was annoyed.
Italian can never have too many tomatoes.
To make the tomato
you have
sauce,
too many tomatoes? That's not a problem. That's like saying I have too much Coke. You know, I can never have enough.
Listen, when you're making tomato sauce, you have to boil each one and peel it, and then cut out the seeds and the middle part, and then boil it again for like 6 hours. And then if you fuck up, you're kind of screwed. You got to add more tomatoes. So I fucked up because they were like, the recipe was like, add sugar. And I was like, all right, I'll add sugar. I shouldn't have added sugar. You don't need to add sugar. It was bad.
Adding sugar is a very controversial technique because it doesn't act. It's like said to offset the acidity, but it doesn't really do that.
There's no need to do it. And so then I was like, I got some sweet tomato sauce. So then I had to add more tomatoes. So I had to rinse and repeat. And then it's like 8 hours of tomato-based activities.
You are right, though. Fresh tomatoes are a big bitch to make into a sauce.
Yeah, but for an Italian, every tomato is a gift. Oh.
You know what? I'm going to say something controversial here, though.
Sure.
Raw tomatoes, like just in a salad.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. Well, okay, for a raw tomato to work, it has to be like tomatoes in general are like the way that we farm them and the way that we mass produce them makes them taste like shit, and it makes them taste like watery garbage.
They're picked underripe because otherwise they would crush themselves in transport, and they're artificially ripened. So like you do have to like look for like good heirloom tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. That's where you get like the good popping flavor. But even then, like it's just better cooked to me. There are definitely Italians out there though. They're like, oh yeah, tomato in any form is like God's gift to man. And it's not to me.
You're eating the right tomatoes. Let's put it that way. But it's that that's that weird thing where it says pizza's like sex. Even when it's bad, it's pretty good. That's not true at all.
Those people have never had a McCain's pizza premiere. The worst pizza I have ever had.
McCain's pizza premiere is the unfinished hand job of pizzas. The snap election. We should get back to the snap election. Is there anything? But no, I think we covered most of it because what this election is mostly about is the hubris of the liberals finally coming to a head. What do we think of Jagmeet Singh? What do we think of Jagmeet?
I like him. I don't honestly. I'm just voting based on a shallow understanding of his policies and like an idea that he might get some stuff done that Justin Trudeau didn't. That all said, I will repeat, like I'm going hard on Twitter too, as you guys can probably attest to, but it's like I'm still not a card-carrying member. I still think they could go farther because like he's like pledging to, like, for example, undo or absolve student debt interest or something. But it's like just cancel all student debt whatsoever and make tuition free should be the example, but maybe that's still seen as extreme. I guess where I'm getting at with this is I could totally see him also getting into power and then pivoting to the right the same way that Trudeau did, and that's my greatest fear. I just hope that there is some relief for young people in terms of housing policy, pharmacare, all that good stuff, better relations with Indigenous, and just a more authentic progressiveness.
What I hope for Jagmeet is that maybe this past year has made him realizing that actually pivoting to the left helps him a lot. Because basically, what did it to me was actually Sheikh Jarrah. Sheikh Jarrah kind of rattled him enough to actually start saying, hey, Canada should stop sending all these weapons to Israel. Previous to that, it had been like pulling teeth to try to get the NDP to say anything about Israel.
It's very tough in Canada to be anti-Israel. I would say harder than in the States.
Yeah. And so,
sadly,
because it's just we're tight with them. We're bonded with Israel as an ally country, and because it's very rooted here that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. But Jagmeet Singh did the right thing, and after years of the left part of the NDP begging him to please say something about Israel, he finally did. And since then, he's gone on to like suggest universal pharma. He says day one we're ending all the boil water notices on indigenous reserves. That's like day one. That's the first thing we're doing.
Another file that Justin Trudeau has notoriously failed on.
Yeah.
Like just an easy low ball win for the Liberals it would have been.
Because I talked to a liberal. There's this liberal person I know, this liberal friend of mine at the dog park. I like him, but he's very much dogmatically liberal. He actually holds the beliefs. And, when I talk to him about Israel, or when I talk to him about why doesn't the Liberal Party embrace this, or why doesn't the Liberal Party, embrace the boil water reserves, he says to me, and reasonably, but also, horrifyingly, that, look, those don't poll well, so they're not priorities. People don't tend to care about them. Which, is monstrous, because it's like, no, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do, right? That's why you try and achieve power. If you're always concerned with maintaining power, I mean, that is like the one way that electoralism, and sometimes why I'm more amenable to like a one-party system, is that you're just constantly campaigning, so you can never actually, there's more pressure on you to not make principled, unpopular decisions.
I mean, and like democracy is so often just an illusory choice anyway. Like, again, what's the most likely result for this fucking election going to be? A liberal or conservative minority? Well, great, show me. It's just going to be the same shit. Like, I feel like I've been alive and like my entire adult life, absolutely nothing has changed and it's gotten worse. So
what is it now?
I'm also cynical about electoralism. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
What is it now? What's the makeup of it now?
Liberal majority.
Minority.
Oh, they're a minority still? Okay, and they don't.
I think they were gunning for a majority.
Okay.
Is the whole.
So what I was reading was that like it has something to do with some vaccine mandate they want to do. Was that true?
I was on the BBC. You're
like,
on the Beeb?
Like,
What's the Beeb saying?
BBC was saying that's why they were doing the election, was because they wanted to get a majority, so they have like a clear mandate to do the vaccine mandate.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think that's probably portraying it in the most favorable light to them. I think they just wanted a majority because they just want more power in general. They want to be less people to answer to. Because, they could pass a vaccine mandate, I'm sure, like, with the aid of the NDP as well. They're just also not interested in building coalitions with the NDP as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that really frustrates me is, like, there's a constant entreaty that we have to work with the Liberal Party, but if the NDP, but they never work with the NDP. They've been very resistant to working with the NDP, who are the, I believe, official opposition right now.
Are they? Official opposition?
No, maybe not.
No, I think the cons still are.
But at any rate, like, there's enough left in Parliament that supposedly with that kind of makeup that they should be able to get more done. But I think like you said, it is just they don't want it. They want the glory all for themselves. And again, it comes back to liberal hubris.
Yeah.
And it's just like, honestly, considering the liberal voting record and the conservative voting record, if there ends up with a conservative minority, I'm gonna like kind of just be very, very enjoying of the sadness of partisan liberals. I'm sorry. I don't think anything's gonna be made too much worse for like minorities or of any kind. Like, honestly, I think it will probably placate a lot of like grumpy conservatives who only care about identity politics, and then nothing really is going to change in terms like maybe like it'll be worse. It will be worse. I'm not going to get so black pilled and deluded, but like it's going to be so minimal that I'm definitely going to enjoy the liberals being foisted by their own petard.
So, yeah, the anti-electoral... Like, there is a greater gulf in governance between Trump and Biden than there is between Aaron O'Toole and Justin Trudeau.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I think, getting blackpilled about electoralism on this election is fine.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
I'm still probably going to vote for NDP. In my riding, it super doesn't matter because the liberal candidate, will win every time.
I will never vote Tory in my life unless some sort of, like... American shift, like how the Democrats shifted, happens.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing that could happen.
Well, what we're leaving out, and we're kind of legally obligated to include the as a Canadian podcast, our French brothers and sisters, because they also are running in the election. Is it the Banque Québécois?
Yes, it's the Banque Québécoise.
What does the B stand for?
It's le bloc Québécois.
Oh, okay. So they're not a banque, they're a bloc.
Who are actually, in some respects, the most left-wing party in Canada.
But that's all we have time for when it comes to the French people. So moving on.
Allons-y.
Quebec rules. It is like a European province in the middle of this North American country.
Yeah, but also like hearty Europe, where everybody eats like chili and like gravy curds, and not like snooty Europe.
And when you stop at the local gas station, you get hit on by a French MILF. True story.
Hell yeah!
I stopped at a gas
fives for
station
high-fiving.
outside of Montreal, but there was only dudes in there, and I was like, what do I do here? Am I going to speak French? Do I have to speak French? What's the deal?
What's the Quebecois for glory hole? Hole de glory.
Well, glory in French is gloire, I think.
Gloire.
Glor. It's hard to say.
It's funny because the French slang for pussy is just the French female word for cat. It's chat.
That's not true anymore.
That's not true anymore. That's over.
That's
old slang.
Yeah, that's not they.
What's the new French slang for pussy?
I don't know, but I
Steve?
just know that is not what they have a lot of words like we do.
Yes.
Probably more because they really love the, they really love the stuff. They can't get enough.
They do. They love the French. Love pussy. Those frogs sure love pussy.
Yeah, I looked up Quebecois glory hole. And it looks like they just call it a glory hole. Like, you saw glory hole or Montreal, Quebec.
Hole?
It looks
Yeah.
like someone's looking for glory holes.
It's a
in
loan
Montreal.
word.
Yeah, that's a very funny thing in like French. In French language, they won't translate English words. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in France is just Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's just
Well, they
it's just
set
the
up
name
a whole.
with a
They've set up like a
French
whole
accent.
part of their government that tries to force people to not do that. It's such a problem for them because they're trying to keep the French language pure, outside with no outside influence, and so there's a whole like ministerial department for coming up with words for loan words that get too popular. So they didn't want like computer to become a French word, so they had to come up with ordinateur.
ordinateur.
Which is, like ordinal, cardinal, ordinal. I don't know, but most French people, I think ordinateur did stick, but there's a lot of loan words that didn't.
I've always found I'm an English major, but I'm not a linguist by any means, but I've always found the French approach to language very restrictive and, I don't know, kind of against the spirit of language, but I get it. I don't know, is that dumb?
This whole language. Fuck this entire language.
No, I just
is
think that
against
language.
the spirit.
No, against the
Language.
spirit of language in general. I think language should be free and evolving, but I also understand the impulse of wanting to protect your language from a subsuming cultural force that is overwhelmingly dominant.
But I think it depends on where French is practiced because French in France is very different than say French in an African country, which I'm sure is those dialects of French. Actually, I don't know because they usually are educated with formal French education. So I wonder how much they
there's
do
also
end up varying.
an element of colonial domination and then punishment for getting the French wrong in African countries.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of intersectional
you're
in a legitimate way.
No, you're convincing me. French actually is a very bad.
Well, we got 30 seconds left, but this is the difference between prescriptivism and descriptivism, which you can go and Google. And the French are prescriptivists, which means you got to follow the rules. We're going to impose the rules on you. And the descriptivists are more language is like you kind of just make it up as you go.
Hey, man,
yeah.
yeah, it's like jazz, man. Words are like jazz. Yeah, zip, zop, doobity beep, bip, bop. Those are words.
I should also take this moment to say I also like and write poetry.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, we're at the plug time, so where can we find your poetry?
Currently nowhere because I am horribly out of practice as a writer, but I will plug my podcast, Big Shiny Takes. It is a show where we look at the worst Canadian columnists and lampoon them. You can find it wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
It's a great show. They're smack dab in the middle of their worst Canadian columnist competition.
Thank you, Alex.
Who will win? Tune in to find out and also follow their Twitter where they are polling at Big Shiny Takes.
Yeah, go to bigshinytakes.com, and I believe there's a Patreon. Is it patreon.com/bigshinytakes?
That is correct. Thank you very much, guys, for filling in all the check marks. We don't even plug this stuff regularly on our own podcast, so it's good. They say you're supposed to market yourself as much as you do the creative work.
Are you the ears of a crust punk? 'Cause you got plugs. But thank you so much for coming on, Marino.
Absolutely
thanks
a
a
pleasure,
bunch.
Roy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.